in me defending Taylor Lorenz or pointing out that her identity being revealed isn't doxing, I don't have any vested interest in any consequences for her, but I understand the game that is being played. They want her anonymity not to protect her. She's under no threat, and I don't want her to be. I don't want anyone to harass Libs of TikTok any more than the individuals that Libs of TikTok has made their name and eventually their fortune by harassing. I don't want that. But what I also don't want is the right-wing game where they pretend this is just a regular person. It's just organic. It's some regular person that's doing something the left is freaking out about. No, we're gonna be very specific about what this person is doing. This person, by the way, was apparently at the Capitol on January 6th, had gone through multiple phases of their social media, desperately trying in a very Dave Rubian way to find something that will break through and make them a name. They did the QAnon stuff, they did Trump stuff, they did all that. And then eventually they landed on, oh, you know what's really popular these days? Homophobia, and I'm gonna jump into that. That's all it is. Now they've got like a job with the Babylon Bee or whatever. They're continually talking with Ron DeSantis and his team. Whatever this is, it's not a regular grassroots person just doing the Lord's work. But that's the myth that they want. The right has tons of money, tons of infrastructure, tons of systematic support for their machine. But that also is really inauthentic. It's artificial. They need the veneer of grassroots for their movements, for their protests, for their Libs of TikTok. That's what they need. That's, by the way, why they love people like Joe Rogan and Elon Musk. They're continually talking about these independent thinkers who suspiciously agree with them on virtually everything. It's because they need plausible deniability that there are people who aren't paid operatives, ideologues that agree with them. And so they will laud these people. Like, for instance, Glenn Greenwald being brought on every day is for exactly this. He doesn't identify vocally as a hard right winger, despite the fact that he wants Republicans to maintain control of the US government in virtually every election, suspiciously. And by the way, he's only ever brought on Fox News to agree with them, but they use the cloak of people's past reputations, the supposed independent position that they hold or at one point in the distant, now mythic past held, to make it seem as if they're more popular than they are, because their positions are wildly unpopular. It requires tons of PR on a daily basis to pretend that that isn't the truth. Anyway, I don't know.
I completely agree.
It's just so frustrating. It's so much money goes into this. And what's the end result? Stripping people of their rights. Like, if you're watching this, like if you're a conservative, do you believe that the Republicans have decided that the 2022 election should effectively be like a massive nationwide ballot initiative on whether gay people should be allowed to live because they care about your economic circumstances and they have a lot of plans for how they're gonna make your lives better? Do you think that's why that this is what their focus is? Come on, you cannot be that stupid. They assume that you're that stupid. Some of you might be. I hope and think that you can't in mass numbers be that stupid.
Unfortunately, I think a lot of them are, which is why they, these individuals continue to succeed, why they have Libs of TikTok and so on and so forth. Yeah.
To mention like 2 more points on this. One, the Libs of TikTok person is now mass deleting tweets, which by the way, you're allowed to do. You have no obligation to leave up your old tweets. But when people have now pointed out who you are and the sort of work that you've done in the past, including possibly being involved in the insurrection, we'll see. The fact that she is deleting thousands of tweets, I don't know, that's interesting. I think that's worth noting. Also, some credit to the Washington Post for standing behind Taylor Lorenz, saying she's an accomplished and diligent journalist whose reporting methods comport entirely with the Washington Post's professional standards. They point out that the Libs of TikTok woman, Chaya Raichik, has had significant impact on public discourse and her identity had become public knowledge on social media. We did not publish or link to any details about her personal life. All of that is true. Taylor Lorenz has identified a person in her area of focus, which is social media and technology, that is having an incredibly outsized effect on legislation that is not just hypothetical in the future, that has already been passed, and the mass mobilization of homophobes as a basis for Republican politics. That is the job of journalists, and she's doing it. That's why they freak out about her. That's why they're all tweeting about her. That's why Tucker Carlson can't go a day without doing a monologue about her, about mocking her struggles with mental health and things like that. It ain't because she's a joke you can ignore. It's because they fear what she's doing, actually identifying bad actors in our politics.
Yeah, you are absolutely correct about that. The reason he continues to go after her, Tucker Carlson attacking Taylor Lorenz, and have his minions go after her is because she's effective at what she does. And she is doing right by exposing the right and all of their ridiculousness and the things that are harmful for our society. And so I'm glad the Washington Post stood behind her. It's just sad that it even needs to happen because it almost adds a little bit of legitimacy to the critique that Fox News is spouting out with this propaganda.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.